So let's talk about pulling girls back in after parties. I harp on this all the time. It's all about logistics and making sure you're set up to succeed the night of. And if there is an after party or even bringing one girl back, a few girls back, and people throw around that after party term so much, it doesn't have to be an actual party. You can say it's an after party even if it's just you, a buddy, and two girls. It doesn't have to be anything crazy to be an after party. It's just an excuse to go back. And it's way better than saying, hey, you want to go back and talk? Or, you want to go back to my place? Because both of those things make the girl feel like she's easy and being a slut. And she doesn't want to feel like that. So if you say you want to go after party, it just removes that. And you can use other excuses too. If you don't want to have other people over here or whatever, it's, hey, you want to come back? Check out the view from my balcony. It's super dope. Or come smoke hookah, or I have a pool table. Use any excuse so they can sort of remove themselves from the decision to go to your place. So the ride from the club to the after party is super important. Make sure you orchestrate when it's time to leave with your other wingmen. Order the Ubers at the same time. Otherwise, girls will be like out on the sidewalk and other guys will be grabbing at them, and you'll lose people in the process. And then when you get in the car, appoint one of the girls to be DJ in the Uber. If you have a bunch of girls and you're piling into an SUV, it's important to kind of herd them. You're kind of like a shepherd, because girls can go in all sorts of different directions outside of a club, and other guys will be grabbing, trying to get them to come home with them. But what you can get away with as far as like throwing girls into a car, granted, there's other girls in there. You're not doing anything that's against the law, right? You just kind of want to create a party environment in the car. And it's usually a 5 to 10 minute ride tops. The car is another good time to do some of the conversation and rapport stuff that you haven't had any chance to do at all in the club. So maybe a little bit of that while you're on the ride back. It's a little lower energy. So when you're back to your place, whatever other after party spot you've set up, or if it's a hotel or Airbnb, or if you're staying somewhere else, you've got to have at minimum booze, ice mixers, some sort of glassware, cups, and music. At a minimum, you got to have that. If you don't have that, it's really tough to sustain anything. And the girls are just going to get bored and be like, these guys don't know what they're doing, and probably take off pretty soon. But at minimum, you need the booze and the music when you get back, and you don't wait forever to start it flowing. I think games are super important. It's just kind of like lightens up the mood, especially you just came from a club. There's so much stimulation at a club. If you go back to an after party and it's like 5 or 6 of you and there's just not much going on, it can get boring for the girls super quick. So playing games is an easy kind of contrived way to keep the energy going. But games are an amazing way to transition from a club and feel like it's more chill, but still fun. And it's also leading sexual, because if you're in an after party situation, the whole point is to hopefully get one-on-one, hook up with a girl. So the ice game, which we've talked about a million times in the group, I'll get into it real quick. Basically, you set up a seating situation where it goes guy, girl, guy, girl, guy, girl. Hopefully you have too many girls, and then it's, girl, girl, guy, girl, guy, girl, girl, right? And you announce, okay, everyone, we're playing a game. Have everyone sit, like orchestrate where they're sitting, have a bottle of alcohol, some shot glasses, and a bucket of ice in the middle of the table. And then say, all right, on the count of 3, every guy is going to pick up a piece of ice, or every second person is going to pick up a piece of ice, and you're going to pass it to the person on your left without using your hands. Ready, set, go. And I'll orchestrate it and just totally lead it. And if everyone kind of does it together, you just kind of motor through that first awkward moment of like, oh wait, we're passing ice with our mouse here. Are we really doing this? But if everyone else is doing it, it'll just totally go with the flow. I've been in situations with the most prudish girls who would like never, ever, ever play the ice game. But if everyone else does it, they just kind of follow along. And the ice game is amazing because you're literally, you're kissing the girls. And after about 2 minutes, you rotate spots. They say, okay, every guy gets up and you rotate a spot. So now you're in between the girl who is next to you and then a new girl. And you can really start to feel out which girls are into you. If they're, giving you love, they're going to be prolonging that passing of the ice, maybe some tongue action, whatever. And that will usually lead to a bunch of debauchery. And that game usually lasts, 10 to 15 minutes tops before it kind of breaks and people start to pair up. The ice game is my favorite of all the after party games just because it's so easy. With the ice game, the girls may be up for it or they may not. And all you need is one mother hen who's like, we're not doing this. And then they're kind of all, they have to agree so they don't look, like sluts. So there certainly is a time and place. Another way I like to introduce the ice game is like, oh, have you guys ever heard of the ice game? It's super dope. And hopefully you have another guy in the group who knows the ice game. You guys can talk it up and then you show them. I found the ice game while I was traveling through Europe. My wingman was at home that night. He took the night off. He'd been partying too hard for the previous 2 weeks straight. So I went out solo and I was introduced to the ice game by a group of Germans. I was like the 12th person involved. They had 6 girls, 5 guys, and they pulled me in for the ice game. So I'll tell this funny story about how I was out with a buddy. We were just trying to scam on chicks on this trip to Europe. And one night he stayed home alone and ended up making out with 6 German girls. And he was super pissed. And I'll tell the story and be like, and now we're going to play that game. And remember, you can't be overly excited about playing and about making out with chicks. It has to come off as like, oh, we do this shit all the time. It's like not a big deal. And if you look too overeager, then it just comes off really sleazy. You know, it's already kind of sleazy. I mean, it is sleazy at the end of the day. So you have to mask the sleazy by being nonchalant about it. And the other good thing about the ice game is, I mean, it's kind of like a last resort. Like typically an after party, you know, you have some other people who are like outside smoking, some people in another room kind of hooking up, and people kind of find each other and they make it happen. Like girls understand dynamics of after parties, and they're coming back to the after party. It's either because they just want to party more with their friends or they're gunning for a certain guy and they're down to hook up. The ice game is best used in a situation where the energy is kind of dying, or you play it right in the beginning, you know, where everyone's together and you need something to kind of like break the pattern and turn it into a more dynamic and fun experience. So, you know, I'm not playing the ice game every time. I'm just kind of busting it out when I need it. So other games, I can talk a little bit about some of the other games that aren't as wild and necessarily like, you know, hard to convince girls to play. Kings is one of them. I would think most of you guys have probably heard of Kings or King's Cup. Basically, you have a full beer or a full mixed drink or whatever in the middle. You spread all the cards in a deck around the cup, and you each pick one and has a number with some meaning to it, whether it's, you know, 2 for you, 3 is me, you have to drink, 4 is, whores, so the girls have to drink, 6 is dicks, so the guys have to drink. Everyone touches the floor. If it's like a 7, last person touching the floor has to drink. And in every number, there's a rule associated with like the loser.